Hey there, what's up? Hello, and welcome to Side Hustle School. I'm your host, Chris Guillebeau, and this is episode number 1. So if you've downloaded this episode, it means that you and I are beginning an all-new journey with a very specific goal. That goal is to help you start a side hustle and create an all-new source of income, even if you love your job, and especially if you don't have a lot of time. So in this very first episode, I'm going to tell you what it's about and how every day for the next year, you'll hear a different story of how someone like you has been able to start their hustle, what they've learned, how they succeeded, even how much money they made, as well as how they overcame challenges along the way. Now, I should tell you up front that this show is different from a lot of other podcasts you may have heard. A lot of podcasts have wide-ranging interviews all about life, the universe, and everything, and those are great to listen to on a 14-hour flight or if you're training for an ultramarathon. But this show, Side Hustle School, is going to be short and action-packed. And my hope is that it's interesting, entertaining, hope you like it, but even more so, I hope that the stories you hear will inspire you to take action. So for example, in the days to come, you'll hear about a woman in Pennsylvania who made $40,000 posting images on Pinterest. You'll hear about a couple that goes on a cruise, and when they get back, one of them creates a website answering commonly asked questions. Less than a year later, this very simple website is making $3,000 a month. You'll hear about a Microsoft employee who teaches hula hooping on the weekends. All kinds of fun, crazy, sometimes quirky little stories. And fun fact, quirky topics often make for great side hustles. But this is important. In these stories, we're looking for replicable lessons. You're not going to go out and do all of these things, but my hope is that with each story, you'll think, wow, that's interesting. I wonder what I could do. So all that is great, but I've noticed that there are two common problems when people start a hustle for the first time. And the first issue is they don't have an idea of what their hustle should be. They have a bunch of ideas, but they don't know how to turn those ideas into offers, or they have a bunch of different skills, but they don't understand how those skills can apply in a different world apart from their work. And the second problem is they have an idea, but they don't know how to implement it. Side Hustle School will help with both of these problems. By the end of the year, you'll be very experienced in knowing what makes for a good hustle, you'll have no shortage of ideas, and you'll also know how to make those projects come to life. Now, this show is much more about you than it is about me, but if we haven't met before, my name is Chris Guillebeau. Over the past 20 years, I've worked for myself. I'm basically unemployable, so that's why I'm an ideal guide to help you along the way. I spent more than a decade building a series of side hustles until I finally became an author and made my parents proud with a real career. And after I'd lived on a hospital ship that was deployed to West Africa for about 4 years, I had a quest to visit every country in the world. I started a blog, The Art of Nonconformity, to chronicle my journey and connect with like-minded people around the world. I wrote a book called The Art of Nonconformity. I wrote another book called The $100 Startup. And long before I had any public platform, for me, the motivation was, how can I start something? How can I have some form of work that will allow me to travel and volunteer abroad and do other things that I believe in? And throughout that time, I've worked with literally thousands of people who've been able to start successful hustles. So I know what works and what doesn't. I'm not going to waste your time. And I also have an amazing global community of people who are all doing really interesting, remarkable things. So if you're new here, if you're just kind of finding this world, welcome. I hope that you find it valuable and rewarding. I've been thinking about side hustles and Side Hustle School a lot. For more than 6 months, I've been preparing this show. I've designed this entire experience, 365 episodes, for a very specific person who's in this situation of wanting to start their hustle. So if you don't meet this profile, that's okay. You can still listen. I hope you enjoy the show. Just remember that I'm thinking of this person throughout the entire series. So you are my ideal listener if, first and foremost, you are busy. You got a lot of things going on. You work a job. Maybe you have more than one job. Maybe you also go to school. You probably have some other responsibilities. Maybe you have a family, a relationship, a hobby, all these things you enjoy, but they also take a lot out of you. And that's why this show will be less than 10 minutes every day. I'm not going to tell you every case study's life story. I'll tell you what's relevant and applicable. One of my favorite stories is from a guy named Jake, and you'll hear his whole story later, but short version, Jake started his hustle while he was working a full-time job with a 9-month-old at home and a wife who also worked and went to school full-time. So maybe you're not that busy, but you're pretty busy. And I figure if Jake can do it, you can too. And second, even though you're busy, you're also like Jake in that you're willing to spend a small amount of time every day investing in yourself. You understand that a side hustle can help you in lots of ways. So you can't devote 40 hours a week to it or anything close. But if there was a process you could follow, you'd be willing to do it. And lastly, you're out there and maybe you even feel a little bit alone. You know you want to hustle, you've seen other people do it, but it's not just that you don't have a ton of free time, you're also not sure how to best invest that time. You're able to work on your own, but you also like a certain amount of support. So if that's you, you're the reason I'm making this show. You want more options, more possibilities for your life, and that's how a side hustle can help you. When you listen to the stories over the next year, I want you to see yourself in them. I encourage you to make listening a regular habit. You can subscribe in iTunes. You'll automatically get new episodes downloaded. If you have a commute or you go to the gym, schedule this into your day. You can listen whenever you want, whenever's convenient for you. Get a notebook and start writing down the number one thing you learned from any particular episode. You don't have to worry about taking a ton of notes. We'll actually have a page of show notes for you every day. And then as the show rolls out, we'll have a couple other options to participate. I'm going to do workshops in 20 North American cities. Later in the year, I hope to do a much bigger international tour. But first, starting with episode number 2, we're going to dive straight in. One final key theme that I'll mention every single day. Inspiration is good, but inspiration combined with action is much better. I don't want you to listen to the show and just be inspired. I want it to help you make real changes. Every day, I'll challenge you to do one thing to get closer to creating more freedom for yourself. This journey is just beginning. It's going to be an incredible adventure every single day this year. Hope you'll join me for it. Once again, I'm Chris Guillebeau. This is Side Hustle School. I will see you tomorrow.